The following is an evening darshan given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj on July 20th, 2016 in Sridham, Mayapur, India. The talk was about pastimes of Lord Caitanya and was given in English with Bengali translation.
Yat Kirtataman Mande Sigotintanam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Caitanya Isram Hayam Tatsat.
বিদ্যা রসে যত প্রভু করে অহংকার শুনেন তথাপি প্রীতি প্রভুরে সবার. Although everyone heard that the Lord was very proud
of his scholarship,
but
they still
loved him
very dearly.
Generally, people who are proud
don't like to hear other people being glorified.
They don't like to hear other people being glorified.
But somehow, in my Pandit, he was loved by all the people.
But somehow Nimai Pandit was loved by all the people.
And his cleverness or learning was something that everyone appreciated.
And his learningness and cleverness was something that everyone appreciated.
So he was unique. Like in Vrindavan, everyone loves Krishna.
Like in Vrindavan, everyone loves Krishna.
In Navadip, everybody loved Nimai.
In Navadip, everybody loved Nimai.
No difference between Navadip and Vrindavan.
There is no difference between Navadip and Vrindavan. জবনেও প্রভু দেখি করে বড় প্রীত সর্বভূত কৃপালুতা প্রভুর চরিত.
The
non-Hindus who generally eat meat,
they're known as
Javanas.
They also inexplicably felt love for the Lord.
They also inexplicably felt love for the Lord.
So the Lord's characteristic
is that He would show His mercy
to all living entities.
Whether Yadanas, Aryas, whether the Javanas, Aryans, or whatever.
So either the Yadanas were normally very envious against those
even the Javanas who were normally envious
against those following the Hindu Dharma. But this enviousness was not directed towards Gaurahari. Somehow they felt great affection for the Lord. And thus the Lord also showed magnanimity to everyone.
Thus the Lord was showing magnanimity to everyone. পরায় বৈকুণ্ঠনাথ নবদ্বীপপুরে মুকুন্দ সঞ্জয় ভাগ্যবন্তের দুয়ারে.
In the city of
Navadip,
the Lord of Vaikuntha, he was teaching his students. In the courtyard of the fortunate Mukunda Sanjay.
In the courtyard of the fortunate Mukunda Sanjay. Bishoy, Sangshoy, Purvapokho, Siddhanto ও সঙ্গীত এই পঞ্চাবয়ন ন্যায়ক্রমে নিমায়ের অধ্যাপন পক্ষ প্রতিপক্ষ সূত্র খণ্ডন স্থাপন বাখানে অশেষ রূপে শ্রী সচিনন্দন.
So Sachinanda
So Sachinandan
explained the system of Vedic debate.
displayed the system of Vedic debate.
Vedic debate was very systematic
Vedic debate was very systematic
since many scriptures were given,
since many scriptures were given,
and one would read different scriptures and come to some conclusion.
and one would read different scriptures and come to some conclusion.
So they would learn what arguments were,
So they would learn what arguments were,
counter arguments, and establishing and refuting the meaning of a sutra
and establishing and refuting the meaning of a sutra
or condensed treatise. Condensed.
or a condensed treatise.
So, the conclusion
So the conclusion
and the refutation of the conclusion,
and the refutation of a conclusion,
all these were taught by Sachinandan
all these were taught by Sachinandan
to his disciples in various ways. He taught these aspects of the Vedic debate
He taught these different aspects of Vedic debate
in various ways. So, the rules of debate in the Vedas
So the rules of debate in the Vedas
were very specific. And what things are unacceptable,
and what things are unacceptable,
what is acceptable,
what is acceptable,
how to explain the scriptures
how to explain the scriptures
by debating,
counter debating,
ascertaining
an object properly,
removing faulty conclusions, and establishing faultless conclusions.
নিমায়ের অধ্যাপনায় সরল বিপ্র মুকুন্দ সঞ্জয়ের সুখ গোষ্ঠী সহ মুকুন্দ সঞ্জয় ভাগ্যবান ভাষয়ে আনন্দ মর্ম না জানয়ে তান.
The devotees didn't know who was the Lord's actual identity.
The devotees didn't know what was the Lord's actual identity.
But still in their hearts, they felt extreme affection for the Lord. Especially Mukunda and Sanjay.
Especially Mukunda Sanjay.
Although they could not understand the Lord's explanations.
Although they couldn't understand the Lord's explanations,
they and all their family members floated in waves of ecstasy due to their devotion or affection for the Lord.
বিদ্যা বিলাস লীলাময় গৌর নারায়ণ বিদ্যা জয় করিয়া ঠাকুর যায় ঘরে বিদ্যা রসে বৈকুণ্ঠের নায়ক বিহরে.
There's a certain bliss in scholastic pursuits
and the
pursuit of knowledge. So after conquering everyone
So after conquering everyone
with his knowledge,
with his knowledge,
the Lord of Vaikuntha would go to his own house,
the Lord of Vaikuntha would go to his own house,
where he would enjoy his scholastic meadows.
where he would enjoy his scholastic
Meadows.
mellows.
So December, Lord of the spiritual world, Vaikuntha,
Vishwambar from the spiritual world Vaikuntha, Lord of the spiritual world Vaikuntha,
master of the goddess of learning, Saraswati,
master of the goddess of learning Saraswati,
he liked to vanquish the
he would like to
false pride. He liked to vanquish the false pride and conceit of those who are proud of their knowledge.
he would like to vanquish the false pride and deceit of those who are proud of their knowledge.
He drove away all the contaminations of the material energy,
So he drove away all the contaminations of the material energy,
all materialism, all anxieties,
all materialism, all anxieties,
by the waves of his ecstatic, scholastic pastimes.
by the waves of his ecstatic scholastic pastimes.
Capture their hearts here in Navadam.
And he would capture their hearts here in Navadip Dham. বৈষ্ণবগণের নিমাইকে সংসারের অনিত্যত্ব প্রদর্শন পূর্বক কৃষ্ণ ভজনে উপদেশ দান। প্রভুরে দেখিয়া সর্ব বৈষ্ণবেরগণ সভে বলে ভজ বাপ কৃষ্ণের চরণ।
When the devotees of the Lord saw the Lord,
When the devotees of the Lord saw the Lord,
they told him, My dear Nimai,
My dear Nimai,
please worship the lotus feet of Lord Krishna.
please worship the lotus feet of Lord Krishna.
Forget all these scholastic pursuits.
Forget all these scholastic pursuits. ক্ষণেকে নাহিক বাপ অনিত্য শরীর তোমারে কি শিখাইমু তুমি মহাধীর।
This body is temporary
This body is temporary
and can go at any moment.
and can go at any moment.
What can we teach you?
What can we teach you?
You are greatly learned
You are greatly learned
and sober person.
and sober person. বৈষ্ণবগণের বাক্যানুমোদন অভিবাদনানন্তে নিমায়ের অধ্যাপন আরম্ভ। হাসিয়া প্রভু সবারে করিয়া নমস্কার পরাইতি চলে শিষ্য সংহতি অপার।
So the Lord smiled at the Vaishnavas,
So the Lord smiled at the Vaishnavas,
the devotees of the Lord,
the devotees of the Lord,
and offered them his respects,
and offered them his respects,
his humble obeisances.
his humble obeisances.
And then, along with his disciples,
Then along with his disciples,
he went to teach them.
he went to teach them. মুকুন্দ সঞ্জয়ের চণ্ডী মণ্ডপে নিমায় পণ্ডিতের অধ্যাপনা। মুকুন্দ সঞ্জয় পুণ্যবন্তের মন্দিরে পরায়েন প্রভু চণ্ডী মণ্ডপ ভিতরে।
Mukunda Sanjay were very fortunate.
Mukunda and Sanjay were very fortunate.
The Lord, he taught his students
He taught his students
within the Chandi Mandap or
Within the Chandi Mandap,
the hall used to worship Chandi,
which means the hall used to worship Chandi,
a form of the material energy of the Lord,
a form of the material energy of the Lord,
once in a year.
once in a year.
So the rest of the year it would be unused.
So the rest of the year it will be unused.
So he would teach his students in the
So he would teach his
Hall.
students in that hall,
known as the Chandi Mandap.
known as the Chandi Mandap. বায়ু তৈলাক্ত শিরে নিমায়ের অধ্যাপনা পরম সুগন্ধি পাক তৈল প্রভু শিরে কোন পুণ্যবন্ত দেই প্রভু ব্যাখ্যা করে পরম সুগন্ধি পাক তৈল প্রভু শিরে কোন পুণ্যবন্ত দেই প্রভু ব্যাখ্যা করে পরম সুগন্ধি পাক তৈল প্রভু শিরে কোন পুণ্যবন্ত দেয় প্রভু ব্যাখ্যা করে
While the Lord was explaining the scriptures,
While the Lord was explaining the scriptures,
a highly scented natural fragrant oil
highly scented, naturally fragrant oil
was massaged into his head.
was massaged into his head.
The oil was given by some person who was very pious and fortunate.
The oil was given by some person who was very pious and fortunate. শিষ্যগণ বেষ্টিত নিমায় পণ্ডিতের অধ্যাপনা চতুর্দিকে শোভে পুণ্যবন্ত শিষ্যগণ মাঝে প্রভু ব্যাখ্যা করে জগত জীবন
On all sides sat the highly fortunate and pious disciples.
On all sides sat the highly fortunate and pious disciples,
Appearing very attractive. Appearing very attractive.
appearing very attractive.
In the middle,
In the middle,
the Lord was seated.
the Lord was seated.
He was explaining the scripture.
He was explaining the scripture.
He was the life of the universe.
He who was the life of the universe.
The universe is made of animate and inanimate living entities.
The universe is made of animate and inanimate living entities.
And the Lord is the life and soul of all both.
And the Lord is the life and soul of both.
It's like some gems
Just like some gems
are said to have a soul
are said to have a soul
as they grow in Death Valley of Southern California.
They grow in Death Valley of Southern California.
In Death Valley of Southern California.
In Death Valley of Southern California,
There are rocks
there are rocks
who are known to move.
who are known to move.
You can't see them move,
You can't see them move,
but over a period of time, they
But-
leave tracks in the valley.
but over a period of time they leave tracks in the valley.
So all these animate and inanimate living entities
So all these animate and inanimate living entities
have a spiritual soul,
have a spiritual soul,
and the soul of the soul
and the soul of the soul
is Lord Gaurasundar.
is Lord Gaur Sundar.
So the animate living entities
So the animate living entities
are those who see the Lord,
are those who see the Lord,
And those who are averse to the Lord
And those who are averse to the Lord
are considered as inanimate living entities,
are considered as inanimate living entities,
or lifeless beings.
or lifeless beings.
Even though they have life,
Even though they have life,
they're considered lifeless because they're averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
they're considered lifeless because they are averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So only the devotees of the Lord
So only the devotees of the Lord
perceive how Lord Chaitanya is offering His mercy to everyone
perceive how Lord Chaitanya is offering his mercy to everyone
throughout the entire world.
throughout the entire world.
So those persons who fail to notice this
So those persons who fail to notice this
are considered as dead bodies,
are considered as dead bodies,
even though they are living or breathing
even though they're living or breathing
or conscious.
or are conscious.
They adore matter and don't see the spiritual reality.
They adore matter and don't see the spiritual reality.
So while Nimai is seated
So while Nimai is seated,
teaching his students,
teaching his students,
it is so beautiful to see.
he's so beautiful to see.
The author
The author
is expressing his inability
is expressing his inability
to properly describe
to properly describe
how beautiful is that scene.
how beautiful is that scene.
Not able to find a comparison
Not able to find a comparison
of anything with that scene.
of anything with that scene.
So while in Navadip, the Lord, He was enjoying these pastimes
So while in Navadip the Lord was enjoying these pastimes
of scholastic pursuits,
of scholastic pursuits,
and those who are very fortunate,
and those who are very fortunate,
they're with Him as His students
they're with him as his students,
and as His hosts,
as his hosts,
so they could see the Lord every day,
so they could see the Lord every day.
and they felt a natural love and affection
And they felt a natural love and affection
for the Supreme Person of Godhead
for the Supreme Personality of Godhead
in this most merciful form.
in this most merciful form.
Hare Krishna. Haribo. 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 Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,